I watched as the masquerade began. People walking in one by one with bright masks of elaborate blues, greens, golds, dancing, laughing, filled with life and beauty. And for a moment I get excited. Then I realized I'm not at a ball. I'm not even in a gown. Reaching, rubbing my fingers up and down the lines of my own face, I stared at my reflection in the window. Lines of pain, concern, and worry, eyes filled with the kind of sadness that tells a story. Hunched over in my pew, I remained silent. Knowing words spoken could bring judgment, tears weren't even an option, and I started to wonder, how did everybody get to be so happy anyway? Then it appeared beside me, a mask so beautiful with iridescent shades of gold slivers that outlined a deep purple with speckles of glitter, topped off with a carefree grin. It was amazing, really something, so I glanced around to see if anyone was watching, and I quickly slid the strap over the back of my head. Then came this unmistakable excitement as I began walking around, back straight, head high, because now I too was radiant, beautiful, dancing and laughing with the rest, at least for a little while. Then slowly my mask moved from music and laughter to the heavy weight of expectation. Unable to remove this unshakable grin, though behind it I burned. Burned with fear and anger, unnoticed tears hidden behind the strongly built shield I once thought was beautiful, but now it felt more like a familiar prison cell. You see, I come from a long line of pretenders. Generations of brokenness covered with turned-up noses or reserved stiff poses with stale amens and legalistic judgments, while never taking the time needed for self-reflection that brings one to their knees when they realize they could never have it all together without letting go of their control, which left me with a question. How did I get here? This formerly educated woman, well-groomed for success by a mother who placed an emphasis on learning because it brought her out of poverty, and while my reflection in the window made me less than desired, at least it was me. Slowly, the strap of this mask became engraved into my flesh. As it became part of my face, I was losing myself to this soul-eating virus infesting this place like snake venom. Feasting on truth, spreading nothing but lies, lies, screaming if they ever found out who you were, they could never really love you. Just then, the sweet, subtle sound of soft giggles pierced through my thoughts as I turned to see 3 small girls sitting in the front row. They were laughing, gently shoving one another, their faces filled with this sort of glow. Innocence. What happened to our childlike faith? One strong enough to cause masses to change, yet as we grow old and our faith starts to rust, we choose instead to carry mountains. A load much too heavy for our weak bodies to maintain. I was going insane, weary and blinded by these chains that took the form of a plastered smile. And I began to see this place for what it really was. Nothing more than an extravagant reception of well-calculated deception, truth buried deep within its inception, covered with overwhelming brokenness. I placed my fingers into the groove of this lie, fearing consequences more than rejection, and with one loud, painful rip, the mask fell to the floor. There were gasps in every direction, and then silence. All at once came this magnificent light, one impeding my sight as I turned to see what my mask had been blocking. It was a bright room with a golden throne. A large curtain was sewn from the ceiling as if to shield us from something. Yet it was ripped through the middle, which seemed more than a little peculiar to me. And even more peculiar to me was a large sign that read, "All of you are covered by grace. Enter in through here." And just through the curtain in front of the throne stood a man. His appearance was homely, yet his presence seemed holy, strange scars on his hands.
Yes, come on.
My automatic reaction was to fall on my face, disturbed by mighty power that appeared sprinkled with grace, but as he motioned me to him, I was curious and frightened. But as my body moved closer, I felt my soul lighten, my burdens were shifted into joy. What a strange experience to be so affected by the presence of a man. Then from behind the man a loud voice spoke. He said, "My child, if you never come to me broken, you can never be made whole." Breaking lies of false needs for perfection and fear of rejection, my son, his sacrifice intended for your protection. From yourself, I see who you are, mistakes and all. Don't you know that you're the daughter of a king? You see, I am your father, who formed you from dust, and now you have to trust that I am who I say I am. I formed you in love for greatness, to overcome hate with gentleness, to walk a humble life of righteousness. So you must believe me when I tell you that Max is no crown or princess. It didn't take long for me to lay my mask at his feet, and then I placed myself there as well. Slowly, one by one, the others began to come as we formed a large pile of these masks with fake smiles. Piles and piles of shattered plaster, like thin sheets of alabaster, replaced with I am's new peace. You know, the kind of peace that surpasses all understanding? And let's not forget about the man who stood in front of the throne through which our glory was shown by his sacrifice. This man, he goes by the name of Jesus.